I have the privilege of working with Ginger Espino at SAFEchild. She coordinates our Plus program, Circle of Security Parenting at SAFEchild. She's also a certified trainer in strengthening families' 5 protective factors framework, and she has been helping families and parents at SAFEchild for 20 years. We are now going to talk about the impossible. No, I don't know. I'm figuring it out. Working from home with children. I've, put together a couple of thoughts here, but I want Hillary and Ruth and Ginger to chime in with thoughts. So I have 2 part-time jobs. I have my mom's Free Mom jobs. My mom's Free Mom job. I also teach English courses online, and then I have 3 little children, and I'm homeschooling one of them now. So I'm sure a lot of you have a list like that, right now. And it's a long list, and I'm finding one of the most important things is like checking in with myself on a daily basis, sometimes a weekly basis, to really think about what's realistically possible for me, if you're able to do that. I know some of us don't have jobs where we are. And then really communicating with my support person or my partner, whoever that is, and with my boss to say, here's what's doable for me. I write all kinds of lists on little pieces of paper, and I found a schedule I had written in like week 2 of this. And y'all, it was scheduled down to the hour, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Do you think I was a little anxious? Like I was trying to, I just need to know exactly when I was doing what, when the kids were doing what, and now basically I've got a beginning, a middle, and an end to the day. It's much more flexible. It can't be that hour by hour schedule. Okay, I know I'm going to get up early before my husband has to work and do a few hours. I know I can maybe get an hour at nap time, but then I got to do an hour of homeschooling, and I know I'm going to work in the evening. And it's very loose. So that's just a little bit about how I'm handling it. But I also think, and I'm interested to hear, your all's thoughts on this. It's also an opportunity to talk with your children about work. I'm trying to take the opportunity to talk about, like, tonight I couldn't do bedtime, and I said, well, I'm doing this really important talk for parents. We're trying to help them, and just helping them also just know more about what I'm doing. And to tell them, also when I'm not doing well, like, mommy has a lot on her plate today. Like, let me tell you a little bit about what I'm balancing. So, I can't give you 100% today. What are y'all's thoughts? And please ask questions on this one. And I'd also love to hear if participants have tips, if you're doing some things that are working well, to balance this.
I just wanted to say really quickly, does anybody else out there need their alone time when they are stuck at home with partners, husbands, children? That has been a real struggle just for me personally. I am a need my alone time to recharge person. So this is a really simple switch. I used to be a get up and shower first thing in the morning, and now I wait till my husband is done working, and I do that in the evenings, and I have my hour. I don't shower for an hour, but I'm up here for an hour by myself, just needing that decompression time. So trying to be creative too, even if you can't go out and be alone, or finding some time in your house somewhere if that is important to you, and making sure those self-care routines are still in place. Maybe not the way they used to be, but in some form or another that you're getting your needs met and you're filling your tank, so to speak, so you can manage all this a little bit easier.
Yeah, Ruth, on that note, one of the things I've talked about with several clients is, and I've tried to do this myself, because I don't know how many of you miss your commute, but I find even my 20-minute commute gives me a few minutes to decompress. And so, if you need to arrange a 20-minute commute where you go for a run or go sit outside and just breathe, do that. Because here we are all together. We have to kind of create those boundaries that used to be more built in and physical. Like, he was off at the office, or you were off at work, or whatever, however that looked. Your kids were off at school. now you're all together in the same four walls 24/7, and that can be really challenging. So however you need to build that in, get creative. But that has really helped us, is that even if I take the kids and put them in a double jogging stroller and I go with earbuds in, I can sort of hear them, but I'm in my own world and taking a little bit of time to decompress, while my partner's also getting a minute because he's had the kids all day, and then he still has to work when I'm done with my sessions. So however that needs to look for your family, but build it in, because we are not meant to be together 24/7. And here we are. So.
Any other questions or thoughts on the working from home topic? Ginger?
There's one here. Oh, I can't read it now. Okay. So my husband is working from home and I do not, but my 2-year-old is getting more upset to why daddy cannot play with her. What are good ways to cope with that? And also how to adjust when daddy has to go back. Well, that's a really good question. You know, I had one friend that told me her 2-year-old is living her best life because daddy and mommy are both home all the time. But that was in the first week. So I think that it's probably different now. I think that it's just going to be hard for her to adjust, but I do think that quality is more important than quantity. So if he's able to spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes, a couple of times a day with her and fill her cup, and just really just love on her and have some fun with her, and she can kind of rely on those touches throughout the day, I think that that might help. Do Ruth and Hillary, do y'all have some other suggestions?
Well, just from personal experience, me working from home is new, but my husband working from home is not. So I have had, since I had kids, that issue of baby, toddler, preschooler, however old, wants to be with daddy, and daddy's on a call, daddy's working. A couple of things that we did that were helpful, you know, if you can create any sort of physical barrier, like when my kids have learned when the door is shut, daddy's unavailable, but when the door is open, they can go in and give him a hug, even if he's working. So that's been helpful, because at least for his job, he's a software engineer, so he's either on a call or he can kind of be working while there's life around him. So if there's a way to, you know, even he used to have a light bulb that changed colors and he would put it a certain color when he was on a call. So, you know, you can get creative if you don't have a door to shut, but talking with them about it. And then here's the other piece, and this is, I sound like a broken record, but it's because it's so important. You're going to have to tell her sometimes, daddy's on a call or daddy's doing this and he can't be with you right now. It's not lunchtime, or whenever that time, like Ginger said, that time is that he can fill her cup. But she doesn't have to like that, right? So there may be some tantrums and some screaming and some upset around when you tell her, daddy has to work right now and he can't be with you. I still deal with that with my newly 3-year-old all the time. It's okay to take her to a separate room and let her have those feelings and be with her in those emotions. Just another piece to tie into the emotions, you know, just like we need to express our emotions every so often or they come out like a volcano, our kids are like that too. And Janet Lansbury has this awesome analogy that kids are like tea kettles, and every so often they just need to blow off steam. And so just remember that you telling her she can't be with daddy right now might be the straw that broke the camel's back for her to release all the tension she's been building up. And so that reaction might look really big, but it's not just about that moment. It's about all the stuff that she's not even aware she's feeling, because things are so different and y'all are stressed and whatever else is going on. So just remember that the goal isn't for her to not have a reaction when you remind her that she can't be with daddy in those moments.
Any other questions on this one? I think that was an excellent one. You guys see any questions? No? Okay. So I want to have time to get, and you know, if you think of something about working from home, feel free to type in a question, and we can kind of jump around topics at this point, no problem. I want to make sure we had time to talk about at least some of the 5 protective factors. I doubt we're getting to all of the 5 protective factors.
Oh, no, we can do it. We can do it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Ambitious. I love it. Okay. So Ginger is my 5 protective factors expert. So I'm going to let her take it away.
Okay. Well, and I just saw somebody put on the chat, it looked like it was a letter from a teacher about how don't stress. We're going to take care of things when they come back to school. We promise we'll get back on track. And I think that that is so wise. And what someone said earlier, lowering expectations, I have gotten so good at that. And so I encourage you all to just push them down. My sister was like you, Megan, that schedule for the first 2 weeks for her son, I was like, okay, good luck with that. And it significantly changed. And so I just think that's really key. But 5 protective factors, just really quickly, the 5 protective factors, it's a framework that is all about looking at what's going right with families instead of just what's going wrong, and looking at what do we need to be able to help our children thrive, what needs to be a quality that we have, that our extended family has, that the community has, to keep children safe and to keep them strong and to help them thrive. So there's 5 things to remember, and so you can remember them with your hand is an easy way to remember them. One of them is social and emotional competence of children, and this is the only factor that has to do with the child. The other factors have to do with the parents. And I think Ruth and Hillary talked a lot about the importance of helping your child understand emotions, express emotions, feeling secure so that they can share what's going on with them, and then we can help them regulate and understand what's going on, especially what's going now with the virus, and being that role model and not being that perfect parent. So that thumbs up that we give our kids, like, good try, you're awesome, I love you, I'm so glad that you're in my life. All those affirmations that are so important for us to give our kids, even on days when we're not having the best day, but trying to find a way to say something affirming to them every day. Then you have this finger, you're number 1, because you are. Parents, you're number 1, and you're also your parents. You're your child's first teacher. So before they went to school, before other people started being in their life and educating them, it was you. You think how much you have taught them from the time that they were born. So knowledge of parenting and child development is really, really important. We don't have to know everything, but it's important for us to reach out and ask for knowledge so that we can understand better what our kids are going through, what they need from us, understanding that 2-year-olds have tantrums, understanding that teenagers are going to roll their eyes and slam their door, just understanding all those things to help us have the kind of expectations that are going to be realistic. There's a lot of places where you can go get information, so I always encourage parents to go to reputable places. You'd be surprised that the Center for Disease Control, which is where we need to go for all this COVID information, has a multitude of information on child development, and lots of great information on understanding our children's behavior, their development, those kind of things. American Academy of Pediatrics has a lot of great stuff. SAFEchild, we have a resource page on our website. So when you're thinking about knowledge, try to go to places that you feel are going to give you the kind of knowledge that's going to be helpful and important for that. So now I cannot put my middle finger up by itself, right? Because that would not be appropriate. But your middle finger stands for social connections, and your middle finger cannot stand alone because we need social connections as parents. Now, social connections right now look very different from how they used to look, but they can still be there. What I've learned about myself is I don't need as much as I thought I did, I think. Just being around my family, I have older children, I'm not changing diapers, all those kinds of things. And my husband here, I'm finding that's giving me a lot of what I need, but then I'm also making sure to reach out via telephone and call my friends and talk to them and make sure we can continue that bond. But I know some of you extroverts are probably needed to do way more than that. But it's personal, and it just depends on what you need. But we're not meant to do this by ourselves. We're not meant to parent alone. We're not meant to parent by ourselves without support from friends and family. So it's really important to stay connected. And please check on your friends that you haven't heard from in a while and see how they're doing, because they need to hear from you. and you need to hear from them. Y'all need to stay connected. So your ring finger stands for parental resilience. And the reason it's your ring finger is because our first commitment needs to be to ourselves and our well-being and our health. Parental resilience means our ability to manage stress and challenges in our life, and how can we protect our children from those stresses and challenges? How can we be that buffer so that that 5-year-old is not having to worry about the virus? We're worrying about the virus, and we're keeping you safe and secure so that you don't have to worry about it. You can talk about it, let's share and talk, but I'm the one in charge. You know, you don't have to worry about me and whether I can handle what's going on. So I think parental resilience is really, really important right now. And a big piece of parental resilience is our ability to transform this current stressor into something else. And so that can be really hard, especially right now. What can we find good about what's happening now? But sometimes if you can step back a little bit and have a little different perspective and say, wow, I'm really getting along well with my husband these days. We're together all day, but yet we're still getting along, and that's great. That says something about our marriage or our relationship. So to be able to see how sometimes a stressful time can create something in you that you didn't even know you had. My 22-year-old has autism, and when I learned he had autism, it like triggered a switch in my brain, and I became this assertive person who was able to go to therapists and advocate for my child. I never thought I could do that. So that's again what parental resilience can be. So it's real important that we keep ourselves healthy and that we get the support we need so that we can, whether it be mental health support, substance abuse treatment, anything that we need to do to make sure that we can stay resilient, because children are resilient, they're flexible, their brains are being molded, but they depend on resilient adults to be able to be resilient themselves. And finally, we have our little pinky finger, who doesn't look like it can do much, right? It doesn't look very strong, but what that means is no one goes through life without needing help. Absolutely no one goes through life without needing some help from someone else. And that's what concrete support is. We're all going to go through times where we're going to need to ask for help, whether it be friends, family, agencies in the community that can give us support. And especially now with people losing jobs, not having childcare, not having school. I do a FaceTime with my nephew every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. So my sister can have an hour that she can work, and then he and I are talking on FaceTime. So asking for help is a sign of strength. I can't stress that enough. It is a sign of strength. It is not a sign of weakness. There are lots of people out there who want to give help, and it's real important that we recognize if I'm giving you help, I need to recognize there are going to be times when you're going to give me help, and it's a mutual kind of relationship. No one is above asking for help from others. So I definitely have had to do that during this time. I know many of you are. Just the fact that you're here at this webinar shows that you're seeking knowledge and you're seeking support so that you can strengthen your family. So that's pretty amazing that you're here doing that. So that is the 5 protective factors in a really fast nutshell. So I haven't looked at the chat. I don't see any questions, but if there are any questions, feel free to write them. That's very quick.
That was an amazing run. I think we're like on time. This is really, I can't believe it. No, you're phenomenal. And I think I'm still trying to remember and get all the 5 protective factors. So don't feel like you're supposed to have it all memorized from that. But I think it's really helpful. And it just made me think of an example today, because definitely for me, having children and how I got into this work is I had really terrible postpartum anxiety with my first child. And I thought I was supposed to be super mom, and that was really detrimental to me. And kind of pulling myself out of that is what caused me to start to ask for help. And just today, I had a neighbor send a couple of the other neighbors a text and say, I'm going out to the grocery store. Can I get anybody anything? Which I've done for others as well, so we don't have to go as often. And I think in the past, I would have thought, oh, I don't want to inconvenience her. I don't want to ask her to get me a bunch of stuff. But there were some things I really needed, and asked bananas. My youngest eats 3 bananas a day. So I was like, please, can you get me a bunch of bananas? And she was so happy to do it, and she knows that I'll do it in return for her. So that's just a small example where my inkling was to say no. Like, I don't need or want that support. But actually, I really needed some things at the grocery store, and she was offering.
Yeah, and just to say one other thing about these protective factors, just to remind all of you, like, you are an instrument for your child's success, so much more than anything negative. And just to remember that, and to know that the attachment research, which attachment is essentially the research that looks at parent-child relationships and what makes them successful and what helps children be successful. Y'all have to get it right. We have to get it right 30% of the time for your kids to come out on top. So it is okay if this is not where you think you should be, or if you're just surviving, getting through the day. You and your relationship with your child is in and of itself a vehicle for your child to be successful. So breathe a sigh of relief, hopefully, and just know that you're doing a great job, all of you. And just when you have bad days, remember that 30%. Make it your mantra.
Thank you. I know. When I learned that 30%, what a relief. What a relief. Every parent needs to know that. Are there any more questions? I don't want to leave anybody's question unanswered. What I'm thinking, since it sounds like we have some other resources that we might want to tell y'all about or offer, is that you can see my email is right there. I have everybody's email, but I think if you want to hear from us, I'll just, as Hillary and Ruth and Ginger are sending me some resources, I'll compile those in the next, this week. And then maybe next week I can send an email out to all those who would like to hear from us. So that's my email right there. It's mroberts@safechildnc.org. So if you just want to write that down and send me an email saying, yes, I'd like, more resources from the webinar, be happy to send those out. I know I found a good, somebody created a coronavirus book for children. There's a PDF that I found that was really excellent, so I'm happy to share that. You have SAFEchild's general website. We have many different programs that might be beneficial to you. You have my email. Like I said, I help pregnant and postpartum moms mainly. You have Ginger's email there. Ginger's focused on several different parenting programs. And then you also have Ruth and Hillary's emails there. And they are both in private practice. And they're doing teletherapy right now, which is wonderful. So I think all therapists are doing teletherapy right now, at least from my, talking with them. So just know that that's still available to you as a resource.
And Megan, there is a question about, may we have access to these slides?
Sure. Yeah. So if you want access to the slides, I think also just shoot me an email, and I'm happy to send this out to anybody who would like it. Also know we're recording it. So I can send you the slides, but also if you want the recording itself, I can send that out. I think we'll probably also be posting this recording to the SAFEchild website.
Yeah. And just know, we're talking about the protective factors and reaching out for help. Megan's right. Every therapist I know is doing teletherapy right now. If you feel like, gosh, I'm really needing some support right now, maybe you were thinking about getting into therapy before and now all of this feels really stressful, feel free to contact Ruth or I. And even if you're not in North Carolina, like, we can get you connected or get you some names, or the Postpartum Support International Directory if you're newly postpartum or you're pregnant. But we can get you connected with somebody. So if it's helpful to reach out to someone that you've sort of gotten familiar with, feel free to send us an email. And I offer parenting consultations, just like a 1 hour time where we can meet through telehealth and talk about any specific parenting questions that you have. So sort of a unique service that I offer in case you leave this and you're feeling like you have a lot more questions.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or last comments as we finish up? Okay, so I want to thank Ginger and Ruth and Hillary so much for their time. I really appreciate it. I was taking notes. I've got things to look at here that y'all mentioned. Thank all of you for joining us, because I know that if you're a parent, you were tired at the end of this day, and you still joined us, and that is phenomenal. And you're doing a great job just by being here and wanting to learn more. So once again, send me an email if you'd like more information, resources, the slides, and I'm happy to send them out. And I wish you all the best, just taking it day by day.